welcome to Top-Notch Tutorials. In this lecture, we'll talk about control statements in Java. These statements are totally similar to those you must have already studied in C. So let's brush up what we have already studied. So let's get going. Before starting, I would like to tell you what exactly is a control statement. A control statement is a statement that helps you to change the order of execution of your program. That is, normally we execute a program from top to bottom in a sequential order, but in certain cases, if you want your program to behave in a different manner, that you want your program to skip certain statements or repeat execution of certain statements, so for that purpose we use control statements. So there are three types of control statements. First is the selection statements, which include if else, nested if, else if ladder and switch. Next is looping, which are also called as iteration statements. They are basically loops in your program, and these looping statements are for, while, do while. And the third is branching or jump statements. They are break, continue and return. These are the jump statements that help you to skip certain lines of code in your program. So in this lecture, since there are too many statements, so we shall cover only one statement, that is selection statements. Selection statements. Now, what is a selection statement? A selection statement helps you to execute a block of code only when the condition specified is true. That is, if your condition that you have specified in your code is true, only then it will execute the following lines of code. If it's false, then it will not execute the lines following the condition. The very first example of a selection statement is the if statement. Its general format is if expression statement. An expression is nothing but a logical expression that either evaluates to true or false. So if statement helps you to perform a logical test, and it will take action based on the two outcomes. That is, the two outcomes will be either true or false. So if the expression is true, then the statement following it will be executed. But if the expression is false, then the statement will be skipped. That is, it will bypass the statement, and the any other lines of code that are following the if statement within the program, those lines of code will be executed. And the statement may be a simple or a compound statement. A compound statement is nothing but a collection of or a combination of other control statements. Next is if else statement. Now, what is an if else statement? An if else statement is nothing but a if statement with the else clause. So just like an if expression is used to execute the statement when the expression is true, similarly if else statement will also execute statement 1 when expression is true. But if the expression is false, it will execute statement 2. Unlike if statement that had no else, so it used to execute the remaining lines of code. So suppose if your expression is true, it will execute statement 1 and then skip this else part and go to the remaining part of the program. If else is executed, then it will execute statement 2 and then go to the remaining part of the program. Next is nested if else. An if else statement can be nested within itself, meaning the if else statement can itself contain within itself another if else statement. That is, if the expression 1 is true, this part of the statement, that is if expression 2 statement 1 and else statement 2 will be executed. And if it's false, if your expression 1 is false, then if expression 3 statement 3 else statement 4 will be executed. When you see carefully, you will understand if expression 1 is true, it executes this part of the statement, that is this part acts as your statement 1. Similarly, when it is false, this part of the statement will be executed, the green part. So it means that the green part acts as a statement 2, and it is very much possible that statement 1 and statement 2 or statement 3, 4, they can again be another if else statements. So this is if these are also if else statements, then we call it multi-nesting of if else statements. Next we shall see else if ladder. So what is an else if ladder? An else if ladder, which has this general format, it consists of a chain of ifs, that is there are n number of ifs here, and here each statement associated with it is an else. So when suppose a condition of if statement is true, then it will execute the statement corresponding to it and directly transfer the control to statement X. It should be noted that statement X is not the part of this ladder. And suppose if none of the conditions is true, that is neither condition 1 nor 2, 3, none of these conditions is true, then it will execute the default statement and transfer the control to statement X. Suppose if any condition is true, suppose condition 3 is true, so it will execute the corresponding statement 3, skip the remaining part of ladder and transfer control to statement X, which is not a part of ladder. And one more thing is, default statement is optional. If you do not write the default statement, then it's okay. So this is about else if ladder. Next we shall see the switch statement. Now what is switch statement? A switch statement is a selection statement that you already know, and it has this general format. What this switch statement does, this switch statement will execute one block out of the remaining blocks. It will execute only one block, that is block is nothing but another set of statements or group of statements. It helps to select a group of statements out of remaining groups. And how this particular group of statement or any particular group of statement will be selected? With the help of the expression that is present within the switch. So this expression should be an integer or a character value. Since char also evaluates to an integer, so char is also allowed. And similarly these case values, which are also called the case labels, should also be either integer or a char value. So this expression is then compared with each of the case labels, and the case label that matches the expression, suppose our value 2 matches the expression, then the corresponding block, that is block 2, will be executed. And break means that it will break out of the switch, that is it will directly transfer the control to statement X, skipping the remaining part of switch statement. So once we encounter break, it will come out of the switch and execute the statement X, which is not a part of the switch. And suppose none of the case label values match the expression. In that case, the default block will be executed, and after executing the default block, the control will be transferred to statement X. However, default block is totally optional. Even if you don't write, then it's okay. And if the default block is not present, then and none of the case label values matches the expression, then none of these blocks will be executed and directly that control will be transferred to statement X. And one more thing to be noted here is that it is not necessary to write the default block at the end of the switch statement. You can write it anywhere within the switch statement. Why do we write default block? Because it is a convenient way to specify if you want to specify any error messages, or for calling an error correction routine, you can use this default block. So this was about switch statements, and in fact this was all about the selection statements used in Java. In the next lecture we shall talk about branching and looping statements, and about labeled breaks and labeled continue. So I hope you all understood the video, and don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. Thank you for watching the video.